Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Alifa and I'm from class Science 1 and today I'll be presenting the history of Islam. The title for this presentation is The Substance and Strategy of the Prophet's Da'wah in the Mecca period. When Muhammad had reached the age of perfection of 40 years, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted him with the tendency to khalwat or solitude so that he stays away from the hustle and bustle of inner life to pursue worship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Muhammad often performed uzlah or exile in the cave of Hira by worshipping according to the religion of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. While staying in the cave of Hira, someone appeared and said to Muhammad, "Rejoice, O Muhammad, I am Jibril, and you are the messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this ummah." This event occurred on the 13th of Ramadan in the year 13 before the Hijr, or the month of July, in 610 BC. The angel Jibril said, "Muhammad, read," and Muhammad replied, "I can't read," so up to 3 times, until the angel Jibril embraced for the 3rd time, and finally Muhammad said Quran Surat Al-Alaq, verses 1 until 5, which is shown here. The first revelation. After the incident in the cave of Hira, Muhammad rushed home to meet his wife, Khadijah, in a trembling state. After telling about the angel Jibril, Khadijah invited Muhammad to meet Waraqah bin Nawfal, who was her cousin. After receiving the first revelation, Muhammad felt uneasy because the next revelation hadn't come yet, and the period between the first revelation and the second revelation is often called the Fatrah period. During this Fatrah period, about 3 to 4 days, while Muhammad was walking, suddenly he heard a roar from the sky. He saw the figure of the angel Jibril sitting between the heavens and the earth. And then Rasulullah ﷺ was afraid to remember the events in the cave of Hira, so that he rushed home by asking his wife to cover him. And then Allah revealed His word in Quran Surah Al-Mudassir, verses 1 until 7. And here are the verses. Rasulullah ﷺ carried out Allah's command, which was to call on the hard-hearted and non-religious people to worship to Allah. This task is very heavy and a big matter, because he had to deal with various challenges and problems, including overhauling the cultural, social system, beliefs of the people of Mecca, and straightening out an unfair social system. Da'wah in secret. Rasulullah ﷺ started his preaching in secret to prevent conflicts with the surrounding community. This period of da'wah lasts about 3 to 4 years generally, the revelation that the saints have guiding nature. And here are the first people to convert to Islam. The first one is Khadijah, which is Rasulullah's wife, Ali bin Abi Talib, Zaid bin Haritha, who was a child adopted by Rasulullah, Abu Bakr, Rasulullah's close friend, and lastly, Ummu Ayman is Rasulullah's caregiver. After several years of secretly preaching in the house of Arqam bin Abi al-Arqam, the religion that was spread by Prophet began to spread in public. Most of the people wasn't very happy with this new religion that Prophet brought until a revelation came from Allah to start preaching openly in Surah Al-Hijr, verses 94. One of the Bani Ghifar chiefs, Abu Zar al-Ghifari, stated that he converted to Islam, and he was then told by the Prophet to start preaching to people around his living area. Through this method, the Banu Daws converted to Islam, and the first person from Bani Daws who converted to Islam was Tufail bin Amr ad-Dawsi, which is a chief of the Banu Daws tribe. So following the success of the Prophet's preaching, the Quraysh people started to brutally attack him and the believers. However, due to the conversion of Umar bin Khattab and Hamza bin Abdul Muttalib, 2 most prominent people among them, the Quraysh had difficulty to stop the preaching process. And one day, the Prophet Muhammad was gathering on the Safa hill and with all the representative of each tribes around Mecca. So even Abu Lahab and his wife were there. And the message he was trying to deliver was calling to worship Allah and leave their idols. Due to this, Abu Lahab wished and cursed the Prophet for gathering them only to deliver the message, so that the Prophet pondered it for a while, until some verses were delivered by Jibril, which is Surah Al-Lahab. And so in response to that, the Quraysh people had done several things, such as perform acts of brutality towards the believers, try to exchange a man with the Prophet through Walid bin Mughirah, sent Utbah bin Rabi'ah after the Prophet to offer him wealth in exchange to stop his preaching activity, and lastly asked Abu Talib to stop the Prophet's preaching activity. but none of this seem to be threatening the spread of Islam, so like it doesn't work. So a boycott. Abu Jahl asked all Quraysh leaders to perform on Bani Hashim Muttalib. And the declarations are stated below, which is Muhammad and his family and his followers are not allowed to marry other Quraysh Arabs, both male and female. The next one was Muhammad and his family and followers are not allowed to hold buying and selling relations with other Quraysh. And third one is Muhammad and his family and followers should not associate with other Quraysh. The Quraysh are not allowed to help Muhammad, neither his family or followers. And this is the end of my presentation. I hope you enjoy it and thank you for tuning in. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.